Admiral Kethvar stood on the bridge of the Stellar Harmony, watching the stars through the massive viewing window. His blue skin had a slight shimmer under the soft bridge lights, and his forearms moved with practiced ease across the control panels. The Zephyrian Kingdom's most advanced patrol fleet moved through space like a school of metal fish, their sleek ships cutting through the darkness. "Admiral," called Navigation Officer Zilthra from her station, "we're approaching the outer edge of our territory. All systems are running normal." Kethvar nodded. This was a routine patrol, nothing more. The kingdom had been peaceful for decades. Their neighbors were either friendly or too weak to cause trouble. The biggest concern was usually space pirates, and even they avoided this sector most of the time. "Sir," the voice of sensor technician Vormel cut through the quiet bridge like a knife. "I'm getting something strange on long-range sensors." Kethvar's secondary arms moved to his command console while his primary hands gripped the railing. "What kind of strange?" Vormel's tentacles danced over his instruments. His green eyes were wide with confusion. "It's big, sir. Really big. And it's moving." "How big?" Kethvar asked, though he was already walking toward the sensor station. "At first I thought it was a small moon or asteroid, but the movement pattern is all wrong. It's maintaining a steady course and speed. No natural object moves like this." The Admiral leaned over Vormel's shoulder, studying the display. The readings made no sense. The object was enormous, larger than their biggest space stations. But it was moving through space with purpose and direction. "Could it be a ship?" asked Commander Yithra, Kethvar's second-in-command. She joined them at the sensor station, her silver hair reflecting the screen's glow. "If it is, it's bigger than anything I've ever seen," Vormel replied. "It's at least 50 kilometers long, maybe more." Kethvar felt a chill run through his body. In all his years of service, he had never encountered anything like this. "Are there any energy signatures?" "That's the strangest part, sir. The energy readings are off the charts. Whatever this thing is, it has power sources that make our fusion reactors look like flashlights." The bridge fell silent except for the soft hum of the ship's systems. Every officer stared at the sensor display, trying to understand what they were seeing. "Could it be the hegemony?" Commander Yithra suggested. "Maybe they built some kind of new supership." Kethvar shook his head. "The hegemony doesn't have technology like this. Nobody does." "Sir," Vormel said quietly, "I'm detecting multiple smaller energy signatures around the main object. I think it has escort ships." The Admiral's four hands clenched into fists. A fleet of unknown ships led by something the size of a small city was approaching Zephyrian space. This was no trading mission or diplomatic visit. "Red alert," Kethvar commanded. "All ships battle formation. Raise shields and charge weapons." Alarms began blaring throughout the stellar harmony. The bridge lights switched to the red glow of combat status. Through the viewing window, Kethvar could see the other ships in his fleet moving into defensive positions. "Admiral," Communications Officer Heldan called out, "I'm trying to contact Fleet Command, but we're too far out. The signal won't reach them for another hour." "Keep trying," Kethvar ordered. "And start recording everything. If we don't make it back, at least they'll know what happened." The next few minutes felt like hours as the unknown fleet grew larger on their sensors. Vormel continued to call out readings that seemed impossible. "Sir, I'm getting clearer images now." "The main vessel? It doesn't match any ship design in our databases. The hull configuration is completely alien." "Alien?" Commander Yithra asked. "You mean like truly alien? Not just foreign?" "I mean nothing in our records matches this. The ship has a shape I've never seen before. It's long and angular, with structures that don't make sense for any known technology." Kethvar stared at the display screen as it showed the approaching fleet. The main ship was indeed massive beyond belief. Its hull was dark gray, almost black, with strange markings along its sides. Smaller ships, each one larger than the stellar harmony, moved around it like guards protecting their lord. "How many escort ships?" the Admiral asked. "I count 12, sir. Each one is roughly the size of our heavy cruisers. 12 ships that could match their best vessels, protecting something that dwarfed them all." Kethvar realized his patrol fleet was completely outmatched. If these aliens wanted to destroy them, there was nothing he could do to stop it. "Are they heading for our colonies?" Commander Yithra asked. Vormel checked his instruments again. "No, sir. They're moving parallel to our border, If they maintain their current course, they'll pass through our outer territory, but won't approach any populated systems. Maybe they're just passing through, Heldan suggested hopefully. Ships that size don't just pass through, Kethvar replied grimly. They go where they want to go. The Admiral had to make a decision. He could try to intercept the alien fleet and demand they explain their presence. He could follow them at a safe distance and observe, or he could retreat and warn Fleet Command. Sir, Vormel said, his voice shaking, the main ship is changing course. It's turning toward us. Every eye on the bridge focused on the sensor display. The massive alien vessel was indeed altering its path, moving directly toward the Zephyrian patrol fleet. Evasive maneuvers, Kethvar ordered. All ships retreat to minimum safe distance. Sir, they're much faster than us, Vormel reported. At their current speed, they'll intercept us in 20 minutes. The Admiral's mind raced. Running was pointless if the aliens were faster. Fighting was suicide against ships that size. That left only one option. Heldan, open a channel on all frequencies. All languages. The communications officer's fingers flew over his console. Channel open, sir. Kethvar straightened his uniform and cleared his throat. Unknown vessels, this is Admiral Kethvar of the Zephyrian Kingdom Navy. You are entering our territorial space. Please identify yourselves and state your intentions. They waited. The only sound was the quiet beeping of sensors and the hum of the ship's engines. The alien fleet continued its approach. Sir, Vormel called out, I'm detecting some kind of scanning beam from the main ship. They're examining us. Are our shields holding? Yes, sir. But whatever they're using is much more advanced than our sensors. I think they're learning everything about our ships and weapons. Kethvar felt sweat forming on his forehead despite the cool bridge temperature. These aliens were studying them like specimens in a laboratory. Admiral? Heldan said suddenly. I'm receiving a transmission. It's in our language. The bridge fell completely silent. The aliens had learned their language just from scanning them. Put it through, Kethvar ordered. The main screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking into what appeared to be another ship's bridge. But the beings they saw were unlike anything in their databases. The aliens stood upright on two legs, had only 2 arms each, and their skin was pale with no natural shimmer. Hair grew from the tops of their heads in various colors. But most striking were their eyes, small, focused, and filled with an intelligence that seemed both familiar and terrifyingly different. One of the aliens stepped forward. When it spoke, its voice was calm and measured. Greetings, Admiral Kethvar. I am Captain Sarah Chen of the United Human Space Vessel Leviathan. We come in peace. The word human sent a chill through every Zephyrian on the bridge. They had heard stories, rumors from traders and refugees, tales of a species that had appeared from nowhere and changed the balance of power across half the galaxy. Now the humans had found them. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UHSV Leviathan, studying the alien fleet on her main display. The Zephyrian ships were beautiful in their own way, sleek and curved like ocean creatures adapted for the void of space. But they were also tiny compared to her vessel. Size comparison on screen, she ordered. Lieutenant Rodriguez worked his console, and the display showed both fleets to scale. The Zephyrian flagship was roughly the size of one of the Leviathan's shuttle bays. Their entire patrol fleet could fit inside the human ship's main hangar. They're probably scared out of their minds, muttered Commander Williams, Sarah's executive officer. He was a tall man with graying hair and tired eyes that had seen too many first contacts go wrong. Sarah nodded. That's exactly why we need to be careful. Frightened people make bad decisions. She turned to face the communication station. Wilson, are you getting anything from their transmissions? Communications specialist Wilson, a young woman with bright red hair, looked up from her instruments. Yes, ma'am. The translation software has already mapped their basic language structure. It's actually not too different from the Centauri dialects we encountered last year. Good, open a channel and make sure our universal peace codes are broadcasting on all frequencies. The peace codes were humanity's first gift to the galaxy. Mathematical sequences and harmonic patterns that conveyed peaceful intentions across any language barrier. Most civilizations had learned to recognize them by now. On the main screen, Sarah could see the Zephyrian admiral. He was tall and blue-skinned, with forearms and what looked like natural armor plating along his shoulders. His eyes were large and golden, and right now they were filled with worry. Greetings, Admiral Kethvar, Sarah began, speaking slowly and clearly. I am Captain Sarah Chen of the United Human Space Vessel Leviathan. We come in peace. She watched as the Admiral's eyes widened when she said human. Word had spread, it seemed. That could be good or bad. Captain Chen, the Admiral replied, his voice steady despite his obvious concern. Your ship is very large. Are you here to claim our territory? Sarah smiled, trying to appear as non-threatening as possible. Not at all, Admiral. We're simply on a routine patrol of this sector. We had no idea we would encounter your people. Routine patrol? Commander Yithra, the Admiral's second-in-command, stepped into view. A ship of this size is for routine patrol? The question hit Sarah like a cold wave. She had forgotten how the Leviathan must appear to these people. To humans, it was a standard Titan-class vessel, one of hundreds in active service. To the Zephyrians, it probably looked like a mobile planet designed for conquest. Yes, she answered carefully. The Leviathan is a patrol vessel. We monitor shipping lanes and respond to distress calls in this region of space. She could see the Zephyrian officers exchanging glances. On her own bridge, she noticed her crew was paying close attention to the conversation. First contacts were always tense, but this one felt particularly delicate. Captain, Admiral Kethvar said slowly, forgive me for asking, but exactly how many ships like yours does humanity possess? Sarah felt her stomach tighten. This was always the difficult part of first contact. How do you explain humanity's military strength without sounding like a threat? Admiral, the exact number of our fleet is classified information, but I can tell you that humanity maintains sufficient forces to protect our territory and assist our allies. It was a diplomatic non-answer, but the Zephyrians seemed to understand the implication. If humans casually use ships this size for patrol duty, their total military power was beyond calculation. Captain Chen, the Admiral continued, we've heard stories about your people, rumors from traders and refugees. They say humans fight wars against entire star empires and win. Sarah nodded slowly. Humanity has been involved in several conflicts since we entered galactic society. We don't seek war, but we defend ourselves and our friends when necessary. What she didn't mention was the war against the Vrix machine intelligence, where humanity had destroyed a 1,000-year-old empire of artificial minds in just 6 months, or the conflict with the Plague Lords, bioweapon-wielding fanatics who had threatened to sterilize entire star systems. Those stories would only increase the Zephyrians' fear. Are you here to evaluate us as a threat? Commander Yithra asked bluntly. The question surprised Sarah with its directness. No, Commander. Our sensors already tell us everything we need to know about your capabilities. You're clearly a peaceful civilization with limited military expansion beyond your home territory. She immediately regretted saying it. The Zephyrian officers stiffened, and she realized her words could be interpreted as dismissive or even insulting. What I mean, she added quickly, is that you don't appear to be expansionist or aggressive. That makes you the kind of people we'd like to have as neighbors and friends. Admiral Kethvar was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was careful and measured. Captain, what exactly would friendship with humanity involve? It was a smart question. Sarah could see the intelligence in the Admiral's golden eyes. He was trying to understand the price of dealing with a species that could casually deploy ships like the Leviathan. Friendship is voluntary, Admiral. We don't demand tribute or territory. We offer trade opportunities, technological exchange when appropriate, and mutual defense agreements for those who want them. Mutual defense? The Admiral's secondary arms moved to his weapon controls. Against what? Sarah realized she had walked into another difficult topic. The galaxy has many dangers, Admiral. Pirates, rogue artificial intelligences, hostile species, natural disasters. Sometimes civilizations need help, and sometimes civilizations need protection from humanity, Commander Yithra asked pointedly. The question hung in the air like a challenge. Sarah met the commander's gaze directly. Humanity has never attacked a peaceful civilization first, she said firmly. We have defended ourselves against those who chose to fight us. The difference is important. On her own bridge, Commander Williams shifted uncomfortably. Sarah knew he was thinking about some of their recent conflicts. The situations were always more complex than simple self-defense, but she wasn't going to explain the nuances of interstellar politics during first contact. Captain, Admiral Kethvar said, I need to contact my superiors and report this encounter. Would you be willing to wait while I do so? Sarah nodded. Of course, Admiral. Take all the time you need. We're in no hurry. As the communication channel closed temporarily, Sarah turned to address her own crew. "Opinions?" she asked. "They're scared," Commander Williams said bluntly. "Can't blame them. We probably look like an invasion force to them." "The Admiral seems smart, though," added Lieutenant Rodriguez. "He's asking the right questions." Communications Specialist Wilson looked up from her station. "Ma'am, I'm monitoring their internal communications. They're trying to contact their fleet command, but they're too far out. It's going to take time for messages to get through." Sarah walked to the main viewing window and stared out at the Zephyrian fleet. Such small, delicate ships. Their entire patrol force probably couldn't destroy a single one of the Leviathan's escort vessels. "Ma'am," Wilson called out again. "I'm picking up another transmission from the Zephyrians. They want to resume contact. Put them through." Admiral Kethvar appeared on the screen again, but this time he looked even more tense. "Captain Chen, I've been unable to contact my command structure due to our distance from home. However, I feel I should inform you that your presence here will be seen as a potential threat by my government." Sarah felt the situation slipping toward something dangerous. "Admiral, how can we reassure your people that we mean no harm?" "I'm not sure you can," the Admiral replied honestly. "Your ship alone could probably destroy our entire home fleet. Your casual mention of this being a routine patrol suggests you have many more such vessels. From our perspective, humanity could conquer our entire kingdom whenever you chose to do so." The brutal honesty of the statement struck Sarah silent for a moment. The Admiral was right, of course. Humanity could easily overwhelm the Zephyrian kingdom if they wanted to. The fact that they had no interest in doing so was irrelevant from the Zephyrians' point of view. "Admiral," she said finally, "I understand your concern, but consider this. If we wanted to conquer you, would we have stopped to talk?" It was a fair point, and she could see the Admiral thinking it over. But before he could respond, alarms began blaring on both bridges. "Captain," Lieutenant Rodriguez called out urgently. "Multiple contacts approaching fast from the asteroid field. Configuration matches known pirate vessels." Sarah's blood chilled. Pirates attacking during a delicate first contact situation. This could turn into a disaster very quickly. Admiral Kethavar watched his sensor displays light up with hostile contacts. 23 pirate vessels emerged from the asteroid field, moving fast toward the nearby Zephyrian colony of New Harmony. The colony had only basic defenses. It would be helpless against a force this size. "Void Reapers," spat Commander Yithra, studying the ship configurations. "We thought we'd driven them out of this sector years ago." The Void Reapers were among the most vicious pirate clans in the galaxy. They didn't just steal cargo. They took slaves, destroyed infrastructure, and left entire colonies in ruins. New Harmony had 30 million civilians who couldn't defend themselves. "Admiral," called Navigation Officer Zilthra, "the pirate fleet will reach New Harmony in 40 minutes at their current speed. We can intercept them, but..." She didn't need to finish. Kethavar's patrol fleet had 7 ships. The pirates had 23, including several heavy cruisers that outgunned anything the Zephyrians had. "Sir," Communications Officer Heldan interrupted, "Captain Chen is requesting to speak with you." Kethvar looked at the main screen where the human captain appeared. Her face was serious and her bridge crew was clearly in combat mode. "Admiral," Captain Chen said without preamble, "we've detected the pirate attack on your colony. The Leviathan can respond faster than your fleet. Do you want our help?" The question hit Kethvar like a physical blow. Accept help from the aliens whose power terrified his entire government, or watch 30 million of his people die because of his pride? "Captain, those are Void Reapers. They're not common pirates. They have military-grade weapons and experienced crews." "I understand, Admiral. We can handle them." Commander Yithra moved closer to Kethvar and spoke quietly. "Sir, we can't protect the colony alone. Too many pirates, not enough time." Kethvar closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, his decision was made. "Captain Chen, New Harmony has 30 million civilians. If you can save them, please do." Sarah nodded. "We'll take care of it, Admiral. Please maintain your current position and observe. We don't want any friendly fire incidents." The communication ended and Kethvar watched as the massive human ship began to move. Despite its enormous size, the Leviathan accelerated smoothly and quickly, heading toward the pirate fleet at a speed that should have been impossible for something so large. "Admiral," Vormel called from the sensor station, "the human ship is moving at incredible velocity. They'll intercept the pirates in 15 minutes. "Are they deploying fighters or escort ships?" Kethvar asked. "No, sir. The Leviathan is going in alone. Kethvar felt his stomach clench. One ship, even a massive one, against 23 experienced pirate vessels. What if the humans failed? What if their confidence was misplaced? "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the pirate fleet," Heldan reported. "It's on open channels. Put it through." The main screen flickered, showing the bridge of a pirate command ship. The captain was a scarred Vorthan with cybernetic implants covering half his face. Behind him, Kethvar could see other species, all the outcasts and criminals that joined pirate crews. "This is Captain Razor of the Void Reapers," the pirate snarled. "New Harmony Colony, you will surrender all valuables and 10,000 slaves, or we will destroy your cities from orbit. You have 30 minutes to comply." The transmission ended before anyone could respond. Kethvar felt rage building in his chest. 10,000 slaves. The Void Reapers weren't just here for loot, they wanted people. "Admiral," Formel called urgently, "the human ship has engaged the pirates." Kethvar turned to the tactical display, expecting to see a battle between the Leviathan and the pirate fleet. Instead, he saw something impossible. The pirate ships were simply disappearing. "What's happening?" Commander Yithra demanded. Vormel's hands danced over his instruments, trying to make sense of the readings. "Sir, the human ship is destroying the pirate vessels faster than our sensors can track. They're using some kind of directed energy weapons that completely vaporize the targets." "Show me the visual," Kethvar ordered. The main screen switched to a long-range view of the battle. The Leviathan moved through space like a predator among prey. Bright beams of energy lanced out from points along its hull, and wherever they touched a pirate ship, the vessel simply ceased to exist. "Those aren't even their main guns," Formel whispered in amazement. "According to the energy signatures, those are point defense weapons. Point defense systems were meant to stop missiles and fighters, not destroy full-sized warships. But the human point defense was more powerful than the Zephyrians' main battle cannons." "Sir," Heldan called out, "we're receiving a message from the pirate fleet. Emergency frequencies." "Let's hear it." The transmission was filled with static and panic. Multiple pirate voices were screaming over each other. "This is Marauder 7. The weapon signatures don't match anything in our databases. Reaper Command, we need immediate retreat. This isn't a normal ship. They're killing us. Whatever this thing is, it's not from any known species." The last transmission cut off abruptly. On the tactical display, another pirate ship vanished. "How long has the battle been going on?" Kethvar asked. 3 minutes, sir," Vormel replied quietly. 3 minutes. In 3 minutes, the human ship had destroyed over half the pirate fleet without taking any apparent damage. The remaining Void Reapers were scattering in all directions, abandoning their attack on New Harmony. "Admiral," Communications Officer Heldan said, "Captain Chen is contacting us again." The human captain appeared on screen. Her bridge looked calm and professional, as if they had just completed routine target practice instead of fighting a major battle. "Admiral Kethvar, we've eliminated the immediate threat to your colony. Several pirate vessels escaped, but they won't be back anytime soon." Kethvar stared at her in amazement. "Captain, that was... How did you destroy them so quickly?" "Standard engagement protocols for pirate suppression," she replied matter-of-factly. "We try to end these situations as fast as possible to minimize civilian risk. Standard protocols." The humans had destroyed the most dangerous pirate clan in the sector using standard protocols. What would their emergency protocols look like? "Captain, your point defense systems alone seemed more powerful than our main weapons." Sarah Chen looked slightly uncomfortable. "Admiral, I don't think detailed weapons comparisons would be helpful for our diplomatic relationship." But Kethvar needed to know. "Captain, please." "My government will ask questions. How do your weapons compare to ours?" Captain Chen was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was careful. "Admiral, the Leviathan's point defense grid is designed to stop incoming missiles and fighter craft. Our actual weapons systems, well, they're designed for different kinds of targets." "What kinds of targets?" Commander Yithra asked. "Other ships like the Leviathan, enemy battle stations, heavily fortified planets." The bridge of the stellar harmony fell completely silent. "Weapons designed to destroy planets. The humans carried planet-killing weapons as standard equipment on their patrol ships." "Sir," Vormel whispered, "I'm analyzing the debris from the pirate ships. The molecular structure has been completely disrupted. Whatever hit them didn't just destroy the ships, it broke them apart at the atomic level." Kethvar felt dizzy. The human ship hadn't just defeated the pirates. It had erased them from existence using weapons more advanced than anything in Zephyrian science. "Captain Chen," he said slowly, "what would have happened if the pirates had tried to attack your ship directly?" "They would have been destroyed before their weapons could reach us," she answered honestly. "Our defensive systems would have handled them automatically. Automatically. The human ship's computers were so advanced they could fight entire battles without human involvement." "Admiral," Captain Chen continued, "I want you to know that this demonstration wasn't intended to intimidate you. We simply couldn't allow your civilians to be harmed. But Cathvar was already intimidated beyond measure. The humans had just casually destroyed a fleet that would have challenged his entire kingdom's navy. They had done it in minutes with minimal effort, using only their smallest weapons. "Captain," he said quietly, "when you said this was a patrol vessel, did you mean there are others like it?" "Yes, Admiral. The Leviathan is one of many ships in our patrol fleet." "And your main battle fleet?" Captain Chen hesitated. "Admiral, perhaps we should focus on establishing diplomatic relations. Military details can wait for formal negotiations." But Cathvar already understood. If this monster of a ship was considered routine patrol equipment, then humanity's main battle fleet was beyond his imagination. "Captain Chen, on behalf of the Zephyrian Kingdom."
"I thank you for saving our people. You're welcome, Admiral."
It was the right thing to do. As the communication ended, Cathvar turned to his crew. Every face on the bridge showed the same expression: shock, awe, and fear. "Sir," Commander Yithra said quietly, "what do we tell Fleet Command?" Cathvar looked out at the human ship, still hanging in space like a metal mountain. "We tell them the truth. We tell them we've met our new masters and they seem friendly." The words tasted bitter in his mouth, but they were accurate. Humanity could destroy the Zephyrian Kingdom as easily as they had destroyed the pirates. The only thing standing between the Zephyrians and conquest was human mercy, and that was the most terrifying thought of all. Captain Sarah Chen walked through the corridors of the UHSV Leviathan, heading toward the main engineering section. The ship was massive. It would take her 20 minutes to walk from the bridge to engineering, even using the high-speed transport tubes. As she moved through the ship, she passed crew members going about their daily duties, maintenance robots performing routine repairs, and the endless hum of machinery that kept humanity's greatest warships running. She had decided to give Admiral Cathvar and his officers a tour of the Leviathan. It was a risky move diplomatically, but she felt the Zephyrians needed to understand what they were dealing with. Fear based on ignorance was dangerous. Better to show them the truth and let them make informed decisions. The Zephyrian delegation had agreed to beam aboard using their own transport technology. Sarah had offered human transport, but Admiral Cathvar had politely declined. She didn't blame him. Trusting alien technology was always difficult during first contact. "Captain," came a voice behind her. She turned to see Commander Williams approaching with a worried expression. "Having second thoughts about this tour, Commander?" Williams nodded. "Ma'am, showing them our internal systems. It could be seen as either a gesture of trust or a demonstration of overwhelming superiority. I'm not sure which message we're sending." Sarah understood his concern. Every detail the Zephyrians saw would be analyzed by their intelligence services. But hiding their capabilities would only fuel more fear and speculation. "Better they know what we are," she replied. "Mysterious enemies are always scarier than known ones." They reached the main shuttle bay where the Zephyrian delegation would arrive. The bay was enormous, large enough to hold the Zephyrian flagship with room to spare. Sarah hoped the Admiral wouldn't focus too much on the size comparison. A shimmering light appeared in the center of the bay, and 5 figures materialized. Admiral Cathvar looked around the massive space with wide golden eyes. Commander Yithra stood close beside him, her silver hair reflecting the bay's bright lights. 3 other officers completed the delegation, all of them trying not to look overwhelmed by their surroundings. "Welcome aboard the Leviathan, Admiral," Sarah said, extending her hand in the human gesture of greeting. Admiral Cathvar stared at her outstretched hand for a moment, before carefully extending one of his own 4 arms. The handshake was awkward but friendly. "Thank you for this opportunity, Captain Chen," he replied. "My officers and I are eager to learn more about your ship and your people." Sarah led them out of the shuttle bay and into the main corridors. The Zephyrians walked in a tight group, their heads constantly turning to take in details. The corridors were wide enough for vehicles to pass through, with moving walkways to help crew members travel long distances quickly. "How many people serve on this ship?" Commander Yithra asked. "The Leviathan has a crew of 8,000, Sarah replied. "That includes military personnel, civilian specialists, and support staff." She didn't mention that the ship could be operated by as few as 50 people if necessary. The advanced automation systems could handle most functions without human involvement. They passed through several sections of the ship: crew quarters, recreational facilities, medical bays, and workshops. The Zephyrians were particularly interested in the medical facility, which was equipped to handle everything from routine checkups to major surgery for dozens of species. "Captain," Admiral Kethavar said as they walked, "your ship seems designed for very long missions." "That's correct, Admiral. The Leviathan can operate independently for up to 5 years without resupply. We carry our own manufacturing facilities, food production systems, and even entertainment programs." "5 years," one of the Zephyrian officers whispered. "Our ships can manage 3 months at most." Sarah led them to an observation deck overlooking one of the ship's main manufacturing centers. Below them, automated systems were producing replacement parts for various ship systems. Robotic arms moved with precision, assembling components that would have required skilled technicians on most ships. "We manufacture most of our own supplies," Sarah explained. "Raw materials are collected from asteroid fields or uninhabited planets. The fabrication systems can produce everything from food to weapons to entire shuttlecraft." Admiral Kethvar leaned against the observation window, watching the robots work. "Captain, forgive me for asking, but why are you showing us this? These seem like military secrets." Sarah had been expecting the question. "Admiral, secrets create fear and misunderstanding. I'd rather you know what humanity is capable of so we can build trust based on facts rather than speculation." "And what exactly are you capable of?" Commander Yithra asked pointedly. Sarah paused, considering her answer carefully. "We're capable of defending ourselves and protecting our friends. We're also capable of exploring the galaxy, learning about new civilizations, and building peaceful relationships." It was a diplomatic answer, but the Zephyrians seemed to appreciate the honesty. Their next stop was the ship's main computer core. The chamber was filled with quantum processing units that hummed with barely contained energy. Information flowed through the system at speeds that made normal computers look like ancient mechanical calculators. "This is where we process sensor data, navigation calculations, and tactical information," Sarah explained. "The system can analyze threats, plot courses, and even conduct diplomatic research on new species we encounter." "Is this how you learned our language so quickly?" Admiral Kethavar asked. "Partly, yes. The computer analyzed your speech patterns and compared them to our database of known languages. But we also have specialists who study linguistics and xenocommunication." One of the Zephyrian officers, a young male with bright blue markings on his arms, stepped closer to examine the computer units. "Captain, how fast can this system process information?" Sarah smiled. "Fast enough to analyze every book ever written by your civilization in about 30 seconds. The officer's eyes widened, and he stepped back from the computers as if they might attack him. They continued the tour, visiting the hydroponics bays where food was grown, the recreational facilities where off-duty crew members relaxed, and the training centers where personnel practiced. Everything from hand-to-hand combat to piloting shuttlecraft. But the real shock came when they reached the weapons control center. The chamber was smaller than the computer core but filled with displays, showing the ship's entire weapons grid. Tactical officers monitored defensive systems. Targeting computers tracked potential threats, and weapon status displays showed the charge levels of various armament systems. "These are the weapons that destroyed the pirate fleet?" Admiral Kethvar asked, studying the displays. "No, Admiral," Sarah replied quietly. "Those were handled by our point defense grid. These are our primary weapons." She gestured to a large display showing the ship's main armament. The numbers and specifications meant nothing to the Zephyrians, but the scale was obvious. Whatever these weapons were, they were enormously powerful. "What are they designed to destroy?" Commander Yithra asked. Sarah hesitated. The honest answer would terrify them, but lies would be worse when they inevitably learned the truth. "Ships like the Leviathan, Admiral, heavily fortified space stations, large asteroids that threaten populated worlds." "And planets?" the Admiral asked quietly. "If necessary, yes, but we've never had to use them for that purpose. The Zephyrian delegation fell silent, absorbing the implications. They were standing in the control center for weapons that could crack worlds, operated by people who seemed almost casual about such power. "Captain," Admiral Kethvar said slowly, "how many ships like this does humanity have?" "The exact number is classified, Admiral, but I can tell you that the Titan class represents about 15% of our active fleet." 15%. If ships like the Leviathan were only a fraction of humanity's navy, what did their main battle fleet look like? "And the other 85%? Commander Yithra asked. "Various classes. Scout ships, transport vessels, specialized research platforms, and—" Sarah paused. "And?" the Admiral prompted. "Dreadnought-class vessels. Ships designed for major fleet engagements." Sarah watched as the Zephyrians processed this information. Ships more powerful than the Leviathan, which had effortlessly destroyed an entire pirate fleet with its smallest weapons. The tour continued, but the mood had changed. The Zephyrians asked fewer questions and spoke in quieter voices. When they reached the main bridge, Admiral Kethvar stood at the captain's chair and looked out at the stars through the massive viewing window. "Captain Chen," he said finally, "I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest." "Of course, Admiral. If humanity decided to conquer the Zephyrian kingdom, how long would it take?" Sarah felt the weight of the question. The Admiral deserved the truth, no matter how difficult. "If we wanted to occupy your territory and control your population, about 6 months. If we just wanted to destroy your military capacity, less than a week." The silence that followed was deafening. Every Zephyrian on the bridge stared at her with expressions of shock and fear. "But Captain," Admiral Kethvar said quietly, "why would you tell me this?" "Because, Admiral, now you know that we could have conquered you already if we wanted to. The fact that we're having this conversation instead means we want something different. What do you want?" Sarah smiled. "Friends, Admiral. The galaxy is a big, dangerous place. It's better when civilizations work together instead of fighting each other." Admiral Kethvar was quiet for a long moment, staring out at the stars. When he spoke again, his voice was thoughtful. "Captain, when we return to our ship, I'm going to send a message to my government. I'm going to recommend that the Zephyrian kingdom begin immediate negotiations for a friendship treaty with humanity. I think that's wise, Admiral. I'm also going to recommend that we never, under any circumstances, give humanity a reason to see us as an enemy." Sarah nodded. "Also wise, Admiral. Very wise indeed." 3 days had passed since the Zephyrian delegation returned to the Stellar Harmony. Admiral Kethvar sat in his private quarters, staring at the formal invitation Captain Chen had given him before they parted. The document was simple, an offer to visit Earth and meet with representatives of the Terran Federation for formal, diplomatic talks. The message was written in perfect Zephyrian script on what appeared to be ordinary paper, but Kethvar's scientists had analyzed it and found the material was unlike anything they had ever seen. It was stronger than their best armor plating, completely waterproof, and would probably survive direct exposure to a star's surface. Even their simplest documents were made from materials beyond Zephyrian science. A soft chime indicated someone was requesting entry to his quarters. "Come in," he called. Commander Yithra entered, carrying a datapad with the latest reports from their encounter. Her silver hair looked disheveled, and there were dark circles under her eyes. She had been working around the clock to analyze everything they had learned about humanity. "Any word from Fleet Command?" Kethvar asked. "Yes, sir. They want a full briefing as soon as we return to port. The preliminary reports we sent have caused quite a stir in the capital." Kethvar wasn't surprised. 3 days ago, the Zephyrian kingdom had believed they were a significant power in their region of space. Now they knew they were children playing with toys while giants walked among the stars. "What's the analysis of their technology?" he asked. Yithra consulted her datapad. "Our scientists have studied the sensor readings from the Leviathan. Their conclusions are disturbing." "How so?" "Sir, they estimate that humanity's technology is at least 500 years ahead of ours. Maybe more. The materials science alone represents advances we can't even begin to understand." Kethvar nodded grimly. He had seen the casual way the human crew members had handled equipment that should have required entire engineering teams to operate. "What about their military capability?" "Based on what we observed, a single Titan-class vessel like the Leviathan could probably defeat our entire home fleet without taking significant damage." Yithra paused, checking her notes. And Captain Chen indicated that Titan-class ships represent only 15% of their active forces. The implications were staggering. If humanity had hundreds or thousands of ships more powerful than the Leviathan, they could conquer half the known galaxy without breaking a sweat. Commander, what's your personal assessment of Captain Chen and her crew? Yithra was quiet for a moment. Honestly, sir, they seemed like decent people. Professional, respectful, genuinely interested in peaceful contact, but they carry that power so casually. They destroyed the Void Reapers like it was routine maintenance. They showed us weapons that could crack planets and acted like it was normal. That level of power combined with that level of casual attitude, it's terrifying. Kethavar understood her concern. Humans didn't seem evil or aggressive, but they were so far beyond the Zephyrians that they might as well be gods. And gods didn't always understand or care about the concerns of mortals. Sir, Yithra continued, there's something else. Our communications officers have been monitoring subspace chatter from other civilizations. Word is spreading about humanity faster than we expected. What kind of word? Mixed reports, sir. The Centauri Republic apparently has a non-aggression pact with humanity and speaks highly of them. But the hegemony is mobilizing their entire fleet after what they're calling human intimidation tactics in their territory. Kethavar felt a chill run down his spine. The hegemony was one of the most militaristic civilizations in the galaxy, with a history of conquering weaker neighbors. If they were mobilizing against humanity, it could mean war on a massive scale. Any details about what happened in hegemony territory? Sketchy information, sir. Apparently a human patrol fleet, 3 ships, encountered a hegemony expansion force of over 200 vessels. The humans asked them to withdraw from a neutral system. The hegemony refused and attacked, and the entire hegemony force was destroyed in less than an hour. No human ships were damaged. Kethavar felt the room spin slightly. 3 human ships against 200, and the humans won without losses. The scale of their military superiority was beyond anything he had imagined. Sir, that's not the worst part, Yithra continued. According to the reports, the human ships were identified as research vessels, not military. Research vessels. Humanity's scientists were apparently better armed than most civilizations' battle fleets. A communication alert interrupted his thoughts. Admiral, came the voice of Communications Officer Heldan. Captain Chen is requesting to speak with you. Put her through to my quarters, Kethavar replied. The wall screen activated, showing Captain Chen on the bridge of the Leviathan. She looked tired but alert, and there was something different in her expression, a hint of concern that hadn't been there during their first meetings. Admiral Kethavar, I hope I'm not interrupting. Not at all, Captain. What can I do for you? Admiral, I've received word from Fleet Command about recent events in this sector. It seems news of our encounter has spread, and not all reactions have been positive. Kethavar exchanged glances with Commander Yithra. You're referring to the hegemony? Captain Chen nodded. Among others. Admiral, I want you to know that humanity has no intention of starting a war in this region. We're here on a peaceful mission. Captain, with respect, the hegemony attacked your ships first. You were defending yourselves. That's true, Admiral. But the situation is more complex than simple self-defense. The hegemony sees us as an existential threat now. They're likely to make aggressive moves against anyone they perceive as human allies. The implication was clear. Association with humanity could make the Zephyrian kingdom a target. Captain, are you suggesting we should avoid formal diplomatic contact? I'm suggesting you be very careful, Admiral. Friendship with humanity comes with risks as well as benefits. Kethavar appreciated the honesty. Most species would have glossed over the dangers to secure an alliance. What kind of risks? Commander Yithra asked. Captain Chen's expression grew more serious. Some civilizations see us as invaders or conquerors. They may attack human friends to prevent the spread of our influence. Others might demand that you choose sides in conflicts you want no part of. And the benefits? Protection from aggressive neighbors, access to advanced medical and agricultural technology, trade opportunities with dozens of species, and the knowledge that humanity will never attack a peaceful ally. It was a fair assessment. Alliance with humanity would solve some problems but create others. Captain, Kethavar said slowly, in your opinion, what should the Zephyrian kingdom do? That's not for me to decide, Admiral. But I can tell you what I've seen work for other civilizations. Take time to consider all options. Don't make hasty decisions based on fear or excitement, and remember that neutrality is also a choice. Kethavar nodded. Wise advice, Captain. Admiral, the Leviathan will be continuing our patrol route tomorrow. If you decide you want formal contact with the Terran Federation, the invitation stands. If you prefer to maintain your current independence, we'll respect that decision. Thank you, Captain. I'll convey your words to my government. As the communication ended, Kethavar turned to Commander Yithra. Well, Commander, what do you think? Yithra was quiet for a long moment, organizing her thoughts. Sir, I think we're facing the most important decision in our civilization's history. Alliance with humanity could bring us incredible advances and protection from threats we can't handle alone, but it also means accepting that we're no longer truly independent. And if we refuse their friendship, then we hope they meant what they said about respecting our choice. And we pray that nobody else decides to test their patience. Kethavar walked to the window of his quarters and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Leviathan continued its patrol, a mobile fortress carrying the hopes and fears of an entire sector. Captain Chen and her crew were probably good people, but they represented a force that could reshape the galaxy on a whim. Commander, prepare a full report for Fleet Command. Include everything: the technical analysis, the political implications, and your personal assessments. Let them have all the facts before they make their decision. Yes, sir. And your recommendation? Kethavar considered the question carefully. The Zephyrian kingdom was small and peaceful, with no enemies powerful enough to threaten them seriously. They had survived for centuries by avoiding major conflicts and maintaining good relations with their neighbors. But the galaxy was changing. Powers like humanity were reshaping the political landscape. Species that failed to adapt might find themselves swept away by forces beyond their control. My recommendation, he said finally, will be that we accept Captain Chen's invitation, not as subjects seeking a master, but as equals seeking friendship. Do you think they'll see us as equals, sir, given the technology gap? Kethavar smiled slightly. Commander, I think humans are strange enough to judge civilizations by their character rather than their weapons. And if I'm wrong about that, then it won't matter what we choose. We'll be at their mercy either way. Commander Yithra saluted and left to prepare the reports. Kethavar remained at the window watching the stars and thinking about the future. 3 days ago, he had been the commander of a routine patrol in friendly space. Now he was helping to decide the fate of his entire civilization. The humans called it first contact, but Kethavar suspected it was really last contact. The last time the Zephyrian kingdom would make decisions without considering humanity's presence in the galaxy. The age of human dominance had begun, whether anyone was ready for it or not. The only choice left was whether to embrace it as friends or fear it as subjects. Admiral Kethavar hoped his government would choose wisely.